Welcome to the Women Waves podcast. We've got some amazing women on with us today. We've got the lovely Evie Harman from the Girls Network charity, and we've got Megan Byrne, who is a props manager that we will be chatting to today. So if you guys want to kind of talk to us about yourselves, introduce yourselves. Meg, if you want to start.
Hi, my name is Megan. I do props in TV and film, and I am based in Ireland.
Cool. And Evie, if you want to tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm an A-level student, and I also run a magazine with my local council aimed at promoting creativity to young people.
Amazing. And what's the charity about, Evie?
So it's called Bright Minds, and we have regular pages for young people to send in their artwork, and for them to send in creative writing, a photography back cover. So there's loads of space for people to get involved so that they've got like a platform to share it. And we also have regular interviews with other creative people as well, so that they can share their advice and their story to help promote that to young people. And we have a team of young people working on it too that send in ideas. And we used to have meetings in the library very regularly, but everything's obviously on pause at the moment. So yeah.
That's so cool. How did you first kind of get into that?
So I used to hide in the library at my secondary school a lot. That was my little safe space. And I was kind of complaining about what to do over the summer holidays, and my librarian suggested volunteering for the summer reading challenge, and she got in contact with my local library on behalf of me, and explained that I was running the school magazine, and they were super eager for me to start running one with them, and then we had like a volunteering celebration party and kind of formed a team there, and it's just kind of sprung from that really. So yeah.
Fantastic. That's so cool. Have you always wanted to create magazines or?
Yeah, since I was 11. I don't know what happened. It was the summer holidays or something, and I was really bored, and I decided to research careers and things. And the idea of being a magazine editor was something that really, really inspired me. So I was making mind maps with very little knowledge, to be completely frank, and and that's kind of something that's always stuck with me. So when I was in secondary school, I studied media and art subjects, and I also studied sociology, and from sociology I learned quite a lot about the inequalities in society and the lack of representation. So it's something that I really wanted to combine, like my love for being creative and working with other creative people and the potential to have positive representations, and it's something that's still I'm really, really passionate about now. And I do a lot of work on that in my magazine and in my studies at the moment. I'm still studying media, so we focus a lot on representation in that. And
What type of creatives did you have on? You said that you had a few kind of professionals already to come and speak to people.
We've had some local photographers. One we've got in our next issue coming out is called Jack Rowan. He's been really lovely and supportive. We've had some other local artists. But that's how I got in contact with you guys, is because I got back in contact with the Girls Network and asked if they wanted to be involved in an interview. So we have a wide variety of people.
That's so cool.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
And Meg, tell us how you became a props manager.
I actually didn't study in college. I went to college for to be a dance teacher, and then kind of realised, nah, not anymore. when you do it like for 8 hours a day every day, it's kind of not fun. I kind of left that, and then was kind of just doing odd jobs here and there. And my mum was like, "Oh, I know somebody in my choir that works in film," and I was like, "Okay, I'll introduce myself, see what happens." So I did, and he gave me my first job, and it's kind of, it's been good since then.
Was your first job in props, or was it?
My first job.
Was it?
Yeah, it just happened like randomly. Like My first job was trainee standby prop, and that's kind of, I'm still doing that at the moment.
Love that.
That's so good. I was just going to say, it's mad, isn't it, that you didn't go to uni, you didn't study to do it. You kind of just came into it, which is really cool to know that you are able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of go and study it, and then they kind of come to figure out, oh, I could have kind of just found that one person to get me in, and I wouldn't have had to have done so many years, and, you know, not wasted time. It's still, you're still learning, you're still, you know, doing something good. But, you know, I think a lot of people who are in the crew and TV and film now just come from, oh, I might just ask that person to see if I can get a job, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you're like on each shoot, are you just constantly learning new things? Is that how you got to the position you're in now, just by doing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty much learn on the job type thing, because it's so busy. There's no kind of traditional training. You kind of just jump in and you look and listen, and you kind of think, okay, well, if that person is doing that, I wonder why they're doing that. And then you kind of figure it out as you go.
That's so cool.
Yeah. How do you know what props to get? How much time do you have in advance?
So say I started a job and I had 2 weeks prep. I kind of look at the script and I break it down into, like, you know, scene number, scene description, interior, exterior, day, night. And then I'll look at the hero props, which is pretty much what the actor holds, eats, drinks, shoots, you know, anything that is specific to them that they use in that scene. You know, and then I'll look at kind of action props, if the background need anything, if they need backpacks or, you know, and you kind of just break down the script that way. And then you have your lists, but then in the background, kind of weeks before that, the art department or set deck will be doing, you'll have your prop buyers in set deck who will be kind of looking at that already, and they'll have bought all the props for you. And they'll get a lot of options, and the director will pick from those options, and then you'll be given the picked items to kind of name and tag and put into the character's set box to go on your truck.
Wow, there's actually so much that goes into that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realise, do you, when you're watching something, every single thing you're seeing, there's like a whole team behind it.
Yeah, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're reading scripts, do you find, like, you know, or even just reading books, does your brain kind of take everything on and think, oh, you'd need this, you'd need this, you'd need this?
Yeah, a lot of things, if I'm reading a script, I'm like, okay, interesting. It's like, how are we going to do that one? It's like, a lot of it's VFX, and I'm like, what the?
What do you think of, like, Game of Thrones and they left that cup on the side?
I mean, mistakes can happen, but, you know, a lot of the times you aren't given time to go in and grab that thing. So you could be standing there watching the take going, oh, for God's sake. Like, you know, if only they could have just hidden it under their chair, or, I mean, it's no big deal, but, like, definitely in the edit, it should have been, you know, but a director will pick that particular scene because the acting is so good that, you know, that's the take they wanted. So, you know, for them, it's like, well, the take without the cup, nah, you know, it's all right, but in the edit, they definitely should have taken it out.
Yeah, for sure. When you're watching films, is it normally the props that you're focused on, because obviously that's what you do, or is it can you forget about that when you're watching a different film?
I mean, most of the time I try just turn it off, the whole bring your work home thing, but a lot of the times if it's so obvious, you're like, where did their drink go, or why is their drink half full? It's like, you know, but, you know, sometimes I'm like, it doesn't matter, whatever.
Yeah, there's so much attention to detail.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of continuity and making sure things are as they should be.
For sure.
I mean, it's definitely hard to keep on track with those things. Like, you know, as an actor, sometimes you have to also help you guys, because we may have done something that
I'm not aware of,
didn't see, or so it's like a whole
collaboration.
Isn't
It's
it?
definitely collaboration. Like, if you would have said to me on set, oh, I actually wanted my bag to be on my left shoulder now, not my right. I'm like, okay, interesting, but it needs to be on your right.
Yeah.
Continuity.
It's literally the tiniest things, isn't it? Like that.
Yeah. For like, no, it has to be on your right shoulder, and you're like, oh, okay. But I do remember there in Musa and Aisha's room, there's this guitar that seems to just disappear and wander through the set because you guys like to play it. And I was just like, where is the guitar today? I wonder where it could be. Which is completely fine.
And as you'll see on some of our Instagrams, we would just, all of us seem to have this guitar at some point.
And I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, there she is.
Evie, how did you first hear about the Girls Network?
So in year 10, I struggled quite a lot with my anxiety. I was only going to, I don't know, maybe 60% of my classes. I really struggled to make it into a classroom. And my media teacher at the time, obviously she wanted to speak to me because there was, of course, going to be concern about progress and everything. And she was like, well, this is what I can offer you. We've got this new opportunity happening with the Girls Network. Maybe this can provide you with some more support. Because I was still, at the time, waiting for counselling. So, I ended up doing all of the programs that the Girls Network offer. So we had like the application days and the speed dating kind of style, meeting everyone and stuff like that. And I ended up being paired with a very lovely lady, Charlie Marchant, and she is the manager for a digital marketing company. And we would meet in the same library that I have the magazine meetings normally, once a month for about 10 months, and we'd have CV workshops and we'd look through university prospectuses together and have conversations about intersectionality and kind of everything. And yeah, she was very, very supportive and lovely.
How did you find your relationship? Did you get along straight away, or was it a build up?
I think the first session, like meeting anyone that you don't really know, was a little bit awkward. And then she ended up, because we were talking about intersectionality and what feminism meant in our first session, and her boyfriend at the time ended up texting her to ask where she was, because we'd end up talking for so long that we lost track of time and it was dark outside. So yeah, we got on really.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, we're still in contact now. I had to do an interview for my English coursework. So we're still in contact. Yeah, it's really lovely. We went for a coffee in October before everything got shut down in November and stuff like that. So yeah.
You must have found it quite easy to open up to your mentor then, considering you were with her for quite some time.
Yeah, definitely. And when you hang out with someone for a long period of time, your relationship definitely grows closer. And there isn't really anything negative to come from the Girls Network. It's just loads of women supporting women. So there isn't anything really to be afraid of. It's just a safe environment to help each other grow. So yeah.
Had you ever done anything like that before?
I'd never been in a mentee kind of role. I have helped children learn to read in my school and things like that were a lot younger than me, where I was more of the mentor sort of role. Because it wouldn't just be reading, it would be friendship dramas for kids in year 7 that didn't know their way around the school yet, or difficulties talking to teachers and not knowing how to communicate that maybe there's something going on in the class, and things like that. So I've been in the other position, but no, definitely not anything like a mentoring program. I think it's really beneficial. It definitely boosted my confidence, and it's nice to feel recognised, definitely. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's probably what most people have said, isn't it, Leisha, on this podcast, is that what they've got out of the Girls Network the most is confidence.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially when you're younger, to have that confidence, because if I hadn't gone to musical theatre, I definitely wouldn't have the confidence to have gone into maybe even a job.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have even been able to get a job because of my confidence. So I do think it's so important, and it's amazing what they're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think from that early age, like you're saying, it's kind of sets you off in the right direction, doesn't it? Because I was the same, like I was so shy in school, and you know, I think it's easy to think, oh, if you're not confident now, then that's kind of it. That's my future set. I'm just going to be this quiet person that's not going to get places, but that can change in a second.
Definitely.
We're going to play a game where we're just going to create a movie together. We want you to tell us who you would have in the movie, what the movie would be about, what genre it would be, you know, what props there would be, how you would market it, Evie, like all these sorts of things.
Something like sex education, but maybe in the workplace, I think would be really interesting. So I think sex education covered a lot of really important topics, maybe some that are more relevant to teenagers. But I also think in terms of their diversity, they were a lot more inclusive than a lot of shows and stuff, mainstream ones that are available to teenagers. So I think having that in relation to the workplace would be pretty interesting as a film.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It would be really interesting having it in a workplace because you know, as you grow up, I still think everyone still acts like teenagers, but putting a facade of an adult on.
So, 100%. We're all babies.
We're all big babies. Like, have you seen Industry?
Yeah.
On the BBC? It's kind of like that, but it's not around the subject of sex. It's around the subject of the office and banking, but with
a lot of sex in it. What about you, Meg? Who would you have in your film? You know, what would be your dream script to pick up and be like, I've always wanted to do the props for this style film?
I think I would love to do like a sci-fi type thing. It's like one of the things I haven't done yet. So just anything with like, you know, lasers and lightsabers and more random things like that.
That would be so cool.
The inner nerd.
Yeah, well, I can imagine your list of like props being all these weird words that you've never seen before, and you're just like,
cool, yeah.
Would you have to create them, or would you have to find them?
Neither, which is nice. But yeah, like who would create them would be like the model makers, or pretty much model makers would make the things, and then you have your buyers going out or trying to, you know, figure out what would be needed to make the things.
Do you ever get involved in that side of it in terms of like the creating the props, or is it more just that's like the art department?
Yeah, no, not normally. Since it's all separate departments and kind of in the model making, they'd have, you know, people who would be very artistic and talented, and I cannot draw.
So we've got sex education with lightsabers so far.
Okay. Yeah. Adult sex education with lightsabers and...
Yeah. Do you know what I've just binge watched this week? And I'm just obsessed with this actress now, so I think I'd throw her in there. Zoe Kravitz, High Fidelity. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my god. It's just so good. I don't know, I can't believe I hadn't seen it before.
Her character is just like so chill. But also really, she's got a lot going on, hasn't she?
She's got so much going on. She reminds me so much of Amelia.
She is so much like Amelia Eve, for anyone who's listening. The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix, if you haven't seen it. Find her on there.
Yes.
Yeah, she's very much like her. Apparently the guy who made Bly Manor is making a new series called The Midnight Club.
Oh yes, I've heard of that.
Is it going to be like a horror?
Yeah, it's going to be like a horror. It used to be a book.
Yeah, I think I've heard about that one.
Well, get on it,
I'll watch it anyway.
I'm liking this movie so far.
Yeah.
I think it would be so jokes. Would it be a comedy or would it be a drama?
I think like sex education, it is, would you say that's a comedy? It's hard, isn't it? Because sometimes a lot of comedies now, they've got a big drama side to them as well.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely more of like a comedy with like more serious undertones and more kind of depth.
I think they're the best type of comedies that have an underlying message.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Like satire is kind of the best. I like satire the most because it's like In Bruges sort of comedy.
Yeah.
I love that movie. This would be if we had a drama. I really love Andrea Riseborough, and I don't know if she's given enough credit.
She's not given enough credit.
Not
Why
even
is she
close.
not? I think the same thing, and I always think it, and I forget, and then I'll see her again and be like, oh, she's incredible.
So good.
Did you see the episode of Black Mirror?
Yeah.
That she was in?
Oh my goodness, mate.
Yeah.
There's a film she did, I think it's, I don't want to say the wrong name, but she did a film and she's basically in court the whole time. But every time she's on the stand, it like flips back to something that happened, and it's just so good.
So she'd be in there. She'd be in the film.
She'd be in there. Oh yeah.
So we've got Zoe Kravitz. We've got lightsabers. We've got Andrea Riseborough. And we've got sex education. I mean, there's definitely something we can work with there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the budget will be super high so that those props can be...
Yeah, perfect.
So, Evie, I wanted to ask you, have you got a list of magazines that you'd want to work with?
There's a really good magazine called Breathe. It's all about mental health, which is a topic I'm super passionate about, and it's very creative. I think they've got an office based in Lewis. They're also in Australia, I believe, maybe America, but they're really, really lovely. All of their pages, they've got artwork and everything. It's less glossy and, this celebrity is doing this. It's more kind of like the same values as the magazine I'm working on at the moment. It's very much about including lots of artists and promoting positive messages and things like that. They also have what they call a sister magazine called Teen Breathe, which is aimed more at teenagers.
Oh, wow.
Which, and they're really lovely, and I managed to get my school to order some of their samples when I was still there. But it would also be really lovely to work on something, more mainstream when I'm older. I'm kind of conflicted between wanting to work for something a little bit more independent that has some of the same values as me, or something mainstream where it will appear to a wider audience, and then we can, promote positive messages to a wider group of people. So, I'm conflicted.
Well, it sounds like with Bright Minds magazine, you're already kind of on the right track with that.
I hope so.
And you volunteer at a charity as well, don't you?
Yeah. So in October, I started volunteering for a charity called Together Co. And their goal is to help support people that are lonely. Normally, these are people who are over the age of 50, but for some people, it's they might have a chronic illness or something that prevents them from going out and doing social activities as often. And so it's harder to meet new people. And so the whole goal is normally before the pandemic, you'd be paired with somebody and you'd go and have coffee with them once a week, or you'd find an art exhibition that you could both go to for free or something like that, just so that they're going out of the house and they've made a new friend and things like that. At the moment, they're doing telephone befriending. So I'm partnered with somebody and I talk to them on the phone for roughly half an hour to an hour a week, just to catch up, talk about what's been going on, which is pretty tricky when all we're doing is we're both staying at home. So it's, what have you been up to? I'm just at home. So it's quite limited at the moment with conversations. But yeah, and then they also have little kind of support bubbles, so that they can meet new people that are obviously in the same position as them, and things like that. So yeah, I've been doing some telephone befriending, and then I do a little bit of office admin stuff just for the work experience, that side of things, because it's obviously the employment market is going to be pretty interesting when I start getting into it. So I'm trying to get as much experience as possible.
For sure, yeah. Such a good thing to do as well. So lovely.
At this time, people, I think connecting in some way with people is the most important thing to do right now. So you are brilliant for doing that. It's amazing.
It's been good for me as well, because it's nice to talk to new people as well. All I'm talking to really is my family, and then I talk to my friends on the phone. So it's nice to be talking to new people for me too. So yeah, it's they're a really lovely charity. Yeah.
How did you hear about them?
So there's a website called Community Works, and I don't know if they're just Brighton based. I think it's like a small area of the southeast, and you can filter down what you're looking for. So if you're looking for certain volunteer opportunities in a certain area or for a certain age demographic, obviously because I'm under 18, there's some roles that I can't fulfill, or that require you to be an adult or something like that. So it's really hard to find new opportunities. But thankfully I was able to filter it down, and there were a few that I could go for. I'm hoping to come March, depending on restrictions, volunteer at a local art gallery as well, which will be nice because I've never done anything like that before. I've been to some of their exhibitions, and they have some really lovely core values too. They're really passionate about the environment and things, which is cool. So yeah.
Have you ever thought about being an ambassador for the Girls Network?
I think I'm technically meant to be, because I've finished being a mentee. We had a graduation ceremony sort of thing, which was really lovely. We had some really empowering people to come and do talks and things, which was really cool. We had a life coach who used to be a lawyer. She was really inspiring. We had a lady that had a very high position in the police department, which was really cool. Some really random but really interesting roles that I've never even considered, and it was really really interesting learning about that. And so we're meant to be ambassadors now, but there's not really much that we can do really until we're older and actually have jobs and things. So I hope to be when I'm older. I think it's be nice to have a cycle of just constant support and things. I think it's really important. So yeah.
And what have you been up to, Meg, during this time? Because it's quite a difficult time in film and TV, no?
Yeah, so in Ireland we're allowed to continue filming during the lockdowns, but we get tested kind of twice a week, and it's all very safe. You have to wear your masks all day, every day. So yeah, last year I had started on a job in January that got stopped in March because of COVID, and then it restarted in August, and then I finished that one at the end of October. So I was just chilling until I got this job that I'm on now. 2 weeks ago I started, and I'll be on this till the start of July.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah,
that's a good run.
Are you just based in Ireland, or do you normally travel for work?
So normally I'm based in Wicklow and Dublin, but I'm up in Belfast at the moment for work. So yeah, I decided to try get a job up here, and yeah.
How do you find work, Meg? Do you have an agent? Do you have a...
No, so I'm completely freelance, pretty much on your own kind of thing. I find out from other people that do the same job as me. I contacted somebody. I was like, do you know of anybody looking for somebody who does my job? And they're like, actually, yeah, somebody is looking for somebody, and they pass on their number. I call that person, say, hey, I'm available, and then they talk about it, and then they call me back and they offer me a job. And yeah, so you just call people and just be a bit confident, hope for the best.
It must be cool going to different sets, when you're working freelance, you experience so many different things.
Yeah,
it's never the same.
No, every day is completely different. Each on Winx, the sets were really cool, and on the last job the sets were amazing, and everything is kind of different from the last, and everybody has a vision for their new film. So
that's so cool. One of the the main reason that we kind of started this podcast was just to talk about females and how we can advance female empowerment, not just in the film industry, but in general. So we'll start with Meg. How would you say we can advance female empowerment within the film industry for your case?
I suppose it's, especially in my department, it'd be a lot more male kind of orientated, because it's tools and it's lifting heavy things, and it's not to say that it should be that way. I think it's getting a lot more diverse as the years go on, which I think is brilliant. Like, a lot more females should come along to props and give it a go and see if they like it. I mean, no one person is going to lift something heavy on their own. It's all a teamwork. So yeah, I mean, the diversity is getting a lot better in every department. You can see it in even camera, in, you can see it in kind of electricians coming in, and it's really great to see that, like, even for myself, maybe I didn't think props could be something I could do, and I was like, what, I'll just give it a go. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but luckily I really enjoyed it. And I just could think that, if women and girls kind of just keep their mind open and say, what, I'm just going to give it a shot. And it might be scary, it might be daunting, but, anything that is worth doing is kind of scary and daunting and out of your comfort zone. And, the more females coming in, the merrier.
It is scary. Like, I've always found that anything that I'm scared of or fearful of often means something
you're on the right track. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You need that feeling, don't you, in order to kind of, you're going in the right direction.
Yeah. A tiny bit of anxiety is sometimes not a bad thing. You might think, oh my God,
exactly.
A tiny bit is not bad. But, I always get the, can't sleep the night before of starting a new job, and you think, oh God, what is it going to be like? And, it's not as bad as you think it to be.
Once you're on there and you're doing it, I guess you're kind of like, this is why I do it. But beforehand, you're like, why did I do this? And you start questioning all your life choices. You're like,
exactly.
Why did I ever think that I could do this?
yeah, especially for this job. Like, it's working with like a lot of brand new people who I've never met before, and I was like, okay, hopefully everybody's nice, hopefully we get on well. And I knew that we probably would, and everybody's going to probably be lovely, but you always have a bit of anticipation, and it all should work out fine.
And Evie, what would you say? Obviously, I know it's different to film, but what would you say in terms of magazines and also, your volunteering and just in general? What would you how would you say we can advance female empowerment?
I think with almost anything, having people around you that are supportive and will listen, and that you feel that are willing to be vulnerable around you as well, and you can listen and support each other, is always important. For me, in secondary school, like I said, when I used to hide in the library, most of the people that would come and hide in the library office with us were other girls in my year. We were all in year 11 and, struggling. This was obviously before suddenly we weren't at school. And they were so supportive in anything when it came to college interviews, or even if it was just like a test we had the next day. And then the library, when I run the magazine, the librarians there, they're really supportive, and the group of young people that I work with, they're all really supportive. I think just surrounding yourself with people that care and that are just as passionate as you, I think is really important in anything. Obviously my family, I'm really lucky, they're very supportive. And at the college I'm at now, everyone's really supportive. I think, and the charity, I think just surrounding yourself with the right people. And also willing to be that person that will listen to, because I have friends sometimes that might be anxious about going on to do something new, and just being able to listen, and I think just caring, I think, is important in everything. So
For sure. And how old are you, Evie? Sorry.
I'm 16, so I'm in my first year of college. So
it's it's amazing to hear you say all these things, isn't it? Like, it's just crazy to think how much you know and how wise you are at 16.
I think I've just been lucky enough to meet people that will let me ramble on about ideas. I think that's the main thing, is I've had access to so many opportunities, and I'm really, really lucky and grateful to have access to them, like the Girls Network and the library. And it's kind of weird because it all started from me being really anxious, which you'd think is a really negative thing, and obviously it is. I'm not trying to glamorize mental health or anything like that at all, but the library for me was a safe space, and I needed that safe space because I was anxious, as was why I got involved with the Girls Network and how I ended up at the library. And it's sort of the anxiety was what pushed me to do new opportunities. Like Meg was saying, there's fear there for sure, but I didn't want to live with that fear, and I wanted to do new things, and I had the right people behind me to listen and, let me talk for ages about things that I'm really passionate about. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. But no, I'm really lucky because I've had the chance to do these things. Some people don't. So yeah.
But that's what the Girls Network is there for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, they're amazing.
I was saying to Bramwyn the other week, I think we had another girl who was from the Girls Network, and we were just like, we were definitely not this wise at 16. Like, I remember like covering my eyebrows with foundation and like drawing new ones on, and that's what I was doing at 16. Like, there was
I was just like on MSN or on Bebo.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Like, we do not have this information that we have now. Like, everyone seems so much more open-minded,
and also like willing to talk about mental health and all that stuff, because that didn't even get spoken about really as much as it does now.
At 16 I was going through a lot of mental health stuff, and anxiety and depression was a real big thing at that age. And if I had have known that a lot of people were going through the same thing as me, I probably wouldn't have felt so alone in it, which is, I'm so glad that people have that now and can kind of relate to each other.
No, I think having conversations about mental health is really, really, really important. It's something that I feel like people are becoming a lot more aware of, definitely. I mean, being a 16-year-old girl is hard anyway. I'm not trying to but for anyone, every person that I've spoken to when they talk about, what they were like when they were younger, I think it's a really difficult time because you're learning more about yourself and you become aware, especially now, I think, for sure, about social issues too. So you've got your own little bubble of problems, and then obviously there's so much going on in the world as well. It can be very overwhelming, and I think we're really lucky that these conversations are quite normal now. I mean, my friends and I were constantly talking about mental health and other topics that we're really passionate about, and I think it's just having casual conversations. They don't, like this podcast, they don't need to be super formal about, it doesn't have to be an essay or a formal speech. It's just having this space to talk about difficult conversations, I think, is really, really important.
You're right. Like, it is about just having an open conversation and talking about it, like, as it is, rather than, I think that maybe that's more how it was like for us when we were 16. I think it is, it was kind of spoken about, but it was more just essays and like text that just didn't really relate to anyone. There was nothing like what there is now.
I mean, I think social media has helped in a way, because we were in the era of when phones were just coming, like when we had just started having mobile phones. So, core. We've gone through such an age, like throughout technology, right?
Oh yeah.
Technology has just evolved since we've been growing up.
I was speaking about this with my flatmate because we were saying it's strange. We're at that age where we're going to be the only generation that's experienced what it was like before and what it's like after. Because now, obviously, people are not going to know what it was like to not have these things.
Yeah, I do think like social media has opened up a conversation for people to have and connect in a way that we have never been connected before, especially during this lockdown. I think it's been amazing for talking, and it can be a force for good.
Definitely. How do you find social media, Evie?
When I first joined, it was very overwhelming because you don't get a course in how to use social media. I mean, there's probably some available now for marketing and things, but you're just like, oh, my friends are on this platform. I have no idea what it's about. Your parents, like my mum's on Facebook, she isn't on Instagram, you know. Nobody else apart from the people in your age group really was very aware of using social media. So it was new, and it's like, oh, well, what do you post? There's no, you know, set of rules or anything like that. And you'd hear conversations in classrooms like, oh, this girl posted that, and then you'd have negative, you know, people being like, oh, how dare they, even though it's just a selfie or something. But I think now it's definitely been more of a tool for me now. I sort of, when I left secondary school, because it was last March when everything happened, with the lockdowns and everything, the amount of people that I unfollowed because I didn't need to anymore, it wouldn't cause any arguments or anything. And then I started following really creative people and stuff, and that's how I find people to interview for my magazine. That's how I have a separate account for posting stuff about volunteering and things. It's almost like a CV. So I went from using it as just a way of connecting with just my friends, and it being quite negative and just people sharing photos of very edited models and things, to it becoming a useful tool. I think social media is really powerful, and like with anything that's really powerful, it can be used for really good and really positive. But I like that we have the ability to really filter what we can see. So, you know, you don't have to follow the person that makes you feel like you're not good enough. You can follow people that inspire you. And I think that's really good because we have so many more creators now. We can really, you know, tune it into what helps us.
Yeah, I do feel like I have definitely in the past had to unfollow things that didn't help me in any way. You know, I follow a lot of nature things now, and I follow a lot of, you know, but I think it's great that you're aware of that and you changed it for yourself. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's been really helpful. I think a lot of people have done that over the lockdowns because in secondary school, it's still very much, you have your cliques and your, you know, there's certain things that end up being not very good for you socially if you make like one wrong mistake. And even on social media, you're sort of living this like double life essentially of who you are in the classroom and who you are online. And we had a lot of conversations at school about, you know, your really basic internet safety, like obviously don't talk to strangers, don't give out your address, la la la. But it was never about how actually it can be used for positive. It was just a big scare. So yeah, I think it's something that's just been self-taught. When you've been on it for a while, you kind of, you know, sort of learn that actually I don't want to be consuming this kind of stuff. And it's like if you were on Netflix or something, you can pick what you watch. So yeah.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Is like you can just press one button and you've unfollowed.
Yeah, and it's been a great way as well in this lockdown because I joined a new college. We didn't have a sixth form with my secondary school, so it was a wide variety of new people, and we could connect on social media. And even now, because obviously we're not on campus at the moment, it's really beneficial because I haven't really formed a relationship with those people yet because we've been in lockdowns and things. We can't really hang out outside of college anyway. So having social media and the ability just to text and call is really, really helpful. To feel like you're still in a classroom, because you know that somebody else is in the same position as you, and it's really helpful.
What advice would you share with young women today with regards to your job or just in general, And have you experienced any challenges being a female or being female in the workplace?
Yeah, I suppose like my first piece of advice is, it's okay to reach out for help if you're not feeling well, mentally, or, it's okay to kind of talk about it. A lot of people, when I was younger, when I was 16, going through, a lot of stuff in school with, social media was kind of new then with Bebo and MSN and all that stuff, and Bebo brought on a whole lot of ways for other females to bully people without, being known, and kind of it isolated me quite a bit because I didn't know other people could feel the same way that I was feeling. So definitely reach out to people, hold those people accountable for their actions, because they might not think what they're doing is so bad. They might think, look, it's only a harmless bit of fun, but holding them accountable can help them as well. If they don't realize what they're doing is harmful, if they're not held accountable, they'll continue doing this cycle of not great behavior, and I don't know how well they'll turn out. I've had one person come back to me and say, look, I'm kind of glad that you called me out because I wasn't a nice person back then, and I'm grateful that you brought it up, but in the long run, it helps everyone to kind of, hold each other to a higher standard of treating people nicely. It's nice to be nice, and that's all you can hope for from anyone. And in terms of being a female working in film, never take no for an answer, or never take, oh, well, you can't do that for an answer. Always kind of look at it as, well, let me try. I might not be able to lift that thing, but I can try. It's never a kind of closed book on things. And, being in such a male orientated department, a lot of them kind of can be old fashioned and kind of think, well, surely you couldn't use a power drill. It's like, well, let me have a go. Let's see if I can do it. So keep an open mind and try new things. It's okay to not be good at something. You don't have to be perfect the first time. Go easy on yourself, and it can be hard, trying to find work, and just keep finding new people to contact, and they may get annoyed that you've called them a few times, but perseverance kind of can be quite a good quality in somebody, and shows that you actually want to do that job. Whereas they might have somebody on their team that's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go to work today, can't be bothered, and you're here calling them like, can I come in for like an interview, or so yeah, just try your luck, and you never know what might happen.
Oh yeah,
so true, definitely,
so true. And Evie, what advice would you give?
I think even if you're scared, I think it's the same as Meg in terms of trying new things. Like it's worth giving it a go anyway. You don't know where you're going to end up. You might be, for example, I was scared to do this podcast. I've never done a podcast before. But what can go wrong, really? I might be a bit nervous, but I'll be nervous turning it down. So if you're going to feel one way, you might as well try something new, even if you are still scared, because you'll probably regret it. So I think surrounding yourself with the right people, and being able to identify who those people are as well, is a really, really crucial tool, not even just in like looking for new opportunities, but for personal development and being that person to someone else, and just giving things a go. I didn't know that I was going to end up volunteering for, I didn't even know Together coexisted. I didn't even know the Girls Network existed. I was a little bit unsure about whether or not to join the Girls Network because I didn't know who they were, and the idea of talking to a stranger regularly seemed really odd to me. So I think just trying things, it can be really difficult because everything is a bit scary if you don't really know what it is, but just sort of throwing yourself out there. The worst people can do is say no, and that's it, and that's fine. You can go do something else. there's always going to be some kind of opportunity if you look hard enough and you find the right people. So I think knowing that the worst people can do if you apply for something is say no, is a really comforting piece of information, because nothing bad can come from just a no, and maybe you'll get feedback and you can improve, or you'll find something else that's better suited to you. I think just trying is, it's the best anyone can do is try, so no one can critique you if all you're doing is your best.
Love it.
Absolutely right.
I feel like the main message we've got from this podcast today is feel the fear, and this is a title of a book, but feel the fear and do it anyway. And I think that's just hearing both of you, like what you both said, it's so true. I think we so often hold back from doing things because it's easier
100%.
to not feel the anxiety than it is to feel the anxiety. But the result is so much more worth it than if you don't try. And I think that's definitely what I'm getting from what you guys are all saying. So, yes.
Very well put, Bran. Love that. The last takeaway I've been wanting to ask Meg, just a random question. What's the weirdest prop you've ever had?
I suppose one of kind of the first jobs I did, on the smaller budget things, you kind of sometimes go out and buy the props. You kind of like an all-rounder position. And I was told to get like 30 boxes of condoms for a scene. So that was an interesting checkout conversation. I was like, I know this looks odd, but it's for a TV show. And they're like, I don't know if that's better or worse. Or better, yeah. I was like, I have no explanation really. And it was for a TV show called Bridget and Eamon, and it's kind of like a comedy based in like 1980s rural Ireland about this couple who kind of like are always fighting and bickering, and this scene was kind of to do with how condoms were kind of given out to like neighbours and stuff back then, and in little packages because you weren't supposed to use them back then. And so that was an interesting one for sure.
We'll have to watch it now. I want to see the episode.
yeah, it's kind of wacky, but it's kind of true to what the time was like.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming on today. It's been so lovely to chat to you, and lovely hearing all of your advice and experiences. So thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Have a lovely weekend.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.